everyone. I am Holly Mandel, and I am the president, founder, and CEO of iMERGENCE.
And hi, I'm Sarah Hicks. I'm the Director of Sales and Development at iMERGENCE. And we're here.
We're here. And the reason why we're doing these is because we have found in our many years of working with iMERGENCE, I started it in 2011, 2010, and one of the things that always surprises other people is all the things that improv can do for businesses. It is so obvious what improv can do if you want to go out for the night and see a comedy show. It's a great option. It's good for actors, things like that. But a lot of people don't realize how many things improv can change and transform in a company. And so we just thought, let's just start telling people. And then if it happens to match what a company needs or a group needs or a team needs, this isn't a phone, but you'll call us and you'll reach out and we can talk about how we can help you.
I love podcasts to a fault. And I came across this amazing Mel Robbins podcast that was talking about a lot of stuff that really hit home to what we do. So we thought if other people are looking for help in these fields, then maybe we can give some of our thoughts on it and how we take the information and how we teach people.
Exactly. So we're talking about this book. You heard the podcast. Neither of us have read the book. You bought the book though.
I bought the book.
You're winning.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. It's Dr. Alison Wood Brooks. Also Professor Brooks.
She has it all.
She has it all. She teaches at Harvard Business School. She has one or two of the most popular classes there. And she actually created classes that she thought were missing in the curriculum for Harvard. So we love that about her. And she's just very cool. She did behavioral science, which has a lot more to do with improv than I think people realize. There's a lot of cognitive understanding that I think you need to do as either a business owner or whatever your profession is. But we feel, and it feels like safe to say, we know how, we're kind of the how of getting teams to work together, to communicate better, to give people confidence. Improv is actually synonymous with so many amazing things. It's actually synonymous with confidence. It's synonymous with optimized thinking. And so an innovation, for instance, is a really big one. So I know this one, you were interested in it to talk about because of the communication piece, I believe.
Yeah, it's an overall, the overall theme seems to be that what this amazing professor is giving to these young students is the importance of connection and communication, which I think most people used to think, and it probably used to be this way. It probably used to be that the person with the biggest guff and the smoking cigars was the person that was the leader, and then you didn't question it, and then everybody worked for the same company for 70 years and then retired. I think in the way that a lot of things are working now, there's a lot of room for growth, and she's really here to help young people and people that are really inspired to grow and either interview or thrive at their work that they're currently at. She wants to give them the tools, and a lot of the tools that she's talking about are the same tools that we talk about and we teach in our improv workshops when we go into companies.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate it again. A lot of times we'll be listening to podcasts or talking to people or reading stuff in Harvard Business Review or Fast Company. And it's like, oh, this new research shows that this thing is so important or that thing is so important. And we get excited because we know how to deliver on that. And a lot of times that's missing. It's like, this thing's important, but how do you teach somebody? For instance, a growth mindset. About 10 years ago or so, someone discovered that actually, instead of focusing on all the problems and all the things you hate that your teams are doing, which gets you just more of it, if you focus on what everyone's good at and what is happening, you get more of it. And so this was like an aha moment, but it's very hard to actually get teams to switch to a growth mindset. And so when Sarah and I were looking at what a growth mindset is, it's like, it's improv. It's saying yes and.
Yeah. 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
So we thought we would come on and just talk about it. The thing that I think is affecting so many of us post-pandemic and in this life. She was talking about anxiety. And she said that
We have our notes, see?
have
We
our
did.
notes. You can hear the pages. It's not just a sound effect.
No.
She says, one that I loved is she said, if you're feeling anxious, it means that you care. So it's a really good thing.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's like, okay, we care, we care. But she said that anxiety, the recipe for anxiety is uncertainty and lack of control. And as every improviser who is screaming at camera right now is like, all we do is live in a world of uncertainty with a lack of control. We have to work together as a team to make anything happen. So it's like in those things, I'm like, just if we taught you, if you got to practice getting up and not knowing what's going to happen and knowing that your body and your mind will be okay, and you get to do the reps and you get to practice and you get to see other people doing the same thing, that's when I feel like improv is really, like you're saying, like the how can we get this? And if you can get that under control with yourself, then like who knows where you can go.
Right. She was talking about the perspective shift, and this was a study like nerves, the physiology of nerves is like a new study, which
Mhm.
is why I think we are learning about all these new ways of leadership and what actually has impact and what doesn't, because I think we're understanding a lot more about ourselves. And I think we're defining success differently than we used to. But I do love this idea that she's saying you can have a perspective on your experience that's different. And I think that is one of the things that I learned from improv that I carry with me is I have a completely different perspective now on things changing last minute. Oh, that's today. Oh, I got to go now. Um, we've learned to live with that experience to the point where we're like, not a problem. And that's invaluable because if it is a problem, you respond completely differently and you probably make a big mess when you do it and you show up and you don't deliver the goods. And so there's something about just letting the nervous system know, oh, this feeling again. Cool, no problem. As a matter of fact, this is also me just kind of being like, hey, let's just see what happens, which is kind of a fun place to be in. Hey, if I had 3 weeks to plan, that would be great. I don't have 3 weeks to plan. I'll do the best I can. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and you get out of that panic.
Yes.
You get out of that panic, you get out of that flight, fight, freeze.
Yep.
And because as once you understand the mechanics of improv, you've been there. You've been there and you've been there when the stakes are low, you've been there when the stakes are high. It's all depending on how that you can react to it.
Yeah. If you've ever, like anyone who knows how to ride a bike or go swimming, the reason why you don't have to keep relearning it, but the learning was awful. Like I remember swimming class. Oh no.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, sorry. So, were you terrible at swimming?
I did no, I went to the YMCA. Nobody told me what was going on, and then they threw me in the pool with my clothes on.
Okay, so that's not a good example of what. Okay, but once Sarah learned how to swim, we have muscle memory, and muscle memory is how we've been able to evolve so quickly.
Right.
Is that our body remembers. We don't have to remember how to. I can't think of another example, but those are two good ones: riding a bike and swimming. Is there another one?
Reading, anything, driving a car, reading,
Driving
brushing
a
your teeth.
car. Yeah, they say like remember how hard it was, especially if you were a stick shift driver. I am dating myself, and you drove stick. Remember the first time you tried to parallel park with a stick? I mean, it took a long time, and now you can do it and talk and eat and do 50 and listen to podcasts. Um, so the point being, when you experience the unknown and you experience not being in control as a positive thing, where actually something cool came of it that it would have never happened had you been in control and it been completely certain, you have muscle memory of that. And then you go into the next meeting or you go into the next situation, and somewhere in you, your body knows like, oh, this feeling, oh, this was fine. Like it really doesn't take long. Yes, Sarah and I studied for a really long time, but you can see it happen to people very quickly. They're like, oh, this thing that I've been terrified of my life is not a problem.
You can see it happen in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
people go from complete panic, especially when we're teaching them something new when we do these sessions. It's something that they never would have signed up for. They are not interested in learning improv. So they're going to go into a panic mode. Fine. They do it on the inside, usually. And then within the hour and a half, the 2 hour session, they are coming up with ideas. And if those ideas get like they aren't the perfect thing, they don't care anymore. And they're just excited, and everyone is excited for them. And it's just such a, you just feel it's like they shed the stress
yeah,
they had.
yeah, yeah. And a different version shows up. I think that's another thing that all of our facilitators teach improv as well as run corporate events. And I think it's a really important thing that we are all teachers because there's a confidence that comes when you start with a group of people who are terrified, and you know, because it happens year after year after year after year with every personality type you could imagine, you just know that improv will always deliver. Even the person who comes in is like, I don't need this, I'm fine on my own, they become a team player. The person who's the most quiet, sitting in the corner that won't speak, they all of a sudden are the first ones to jump up when you're asking for volunteers, right? Literally.
Yeah.
See this happen over and over again. And so when we do corporate facilitation, we bring that with us, that understanding. And what happens to every single person, because we're all basically wired the same, is that we flip into a different version of ourselves. And I think that is like worth $1,000,000, because if unless you realize there's a different version of you, you kind of think, oh, this is as good as I'm ever going to be. I know I'm not a really good public speaker. I'm kind of this, I'm kind of that. But when you're given the opportunity to flip into this more optimized version, we call it the improv mindset. When you're in touch with the improv mindset, all these things that are in the book talk is there. Effective communication is natural. You are a better with emotional awareness. You can read other people's faces, even the slightest thing. You have access to your own emotions. You can express things in a very specific way that you couldn't if you were on fight or flight. You remember things more, so like you're not as worried if you get a word perfect, but you get all of these things sort of at, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Towards this part of the book that we were talking about, towards the end, Mel was asking, like, what would you suggest that people do when they're in interviews and stuff? And she said, do a callback. And I was like, be still my heart. Do a callback. Like, if you remembered that their daughter is going to school for a specific reason, call it back. Mention that thing. You can't, as you're saying, you can't remember that kind of stuff if you're in panic mode. Then if you're in panic mode, you are like, I have to survive this, and I have to make sure that my heart is pumping and that my living parts of my body are working. I don't have time to remember that your daughter is going to school for to be a radiologist.
Yes.
Not important for my survival right now.
And that's why sometimes when people ask you a question and you're like, I don't remember, like, who's your favorite actor? I don't know. But then you take a shower later and you're like, oh, all these names pop up. It's because we're in a state that we're more relaxed and these things we have access to them. And it's sort of the same thing there. Wouldn't you love to be in a position where you feel like the stakes are so high and you have to deliver, but you're in this state of ease as if you're in the shower, but you're in fact all clothed clearly. Um,
One would hope.
one would hope. We don't know where you work.
I don't know. There could be
Yeah.
tons of places.
One thing that I'd love to talk about, since we are drawing connections between this fantastic research and what we do at iMERGENCE, which is beyond entertainment. It's entertaining. I would say it might be, and we've heard, some of the most fun people have had in any trainings. That so much to us is a given that maybe we almost should talk about that more. I don't know.
It's people's faces hurt. It's like you just seeing people in their most present nature and seeing people having fun with each other is just the most joy that anyone can have. And I mean, we talk about it too. Like, if you have clients and they can see that you love working together, they are going to want to be a part of your party.
That is completely true. And energy is, we both nerd out on reading certain, all the science behind everything that we do. But it's proven that energy is very contagious. It's called rapport. So when somebody is really high energy, they can bring a lot of people with them. Of course, sometimes it's important for the person with high energy to lower their energy to connect to the person. So it's not always one direction. But if somebody walks into a meeting and they're jazzed to be there and they can't wait to present, you can't help but see the effect that it has on the room. So energy and just being in touch with your energy is so important.
Yeah, and that's what like bringing it back to the fun. That's the fun that once you've been in the soup with us for a little bit during these sessions, the energy is like this. Everybody's like little bubbles. And then we've had people come into the room, like then catering shows up because they're like, oh, and now we're going to serve lunch. And they're like, what is happening in
Yeah.
here?
It's not like that thing. I remember somebody saying they did a workshop about like, if you stand a certain way, it activates a different way of thinking, right? It was like the Superman pose, or
Yeah.
yeah, you imagine everyone in the audience is naked and that should make you feel better, which would never make me feel better. I don't know what company that would
What
be.
companies? Maybe they'll find us after this interview.
Hey, we don't say no. But those to me feel like gimmicks. If I
Yeah.
can do that without judging, it is judging a little bit. But I feel like those are gimmicks that would never work for me. I feel safe to say that. But if you can access a part of yourself where that ease and that joy and that confidence is already present, you don't have to pretend you have confidence. You will have confidence. I just think that's why we love what we do.
Yeah. And you're always using, and I've stolen it from you. I love using this word too. It's the hacks. Like I think what drew me most to this podcast and everything of like she's really talking about the connection and communication are so powerful, and I'm like we've got a hack for that.
Mhm.
Like we've got a hack to make you connect instantly.
Yes.
You
I
know,
think that's great.
we're not going to give it all away
Right.
on this, but we know that's why people love to hang out with improvisers. It's immediate connection. And it's because we have to, if we're in a scene with somebody, we have to instantly connect because we have to go somewhere together. And
Yeah.
we have to do it without planning ahead, without mind reading. We come to it from an organic place, and we know that our job is to connect because we've got an audience out there that's watching us. And we
Mhm.
need to make things happen quickly.
I love that you're bringing this up because that's another thing about the book that I wanted to talk about, or that was in the podcast. That's probably in the book. Was I think improvisers, if I have to think about my progression in an improv class, what I learned was that the most important person is my scene partner. Like if
Yes.
I take care of that person, everything happens. If I only worry about myself, very little good happens. And so it's a nice orientation to be so plugged in and curious about people. I think we do it quite naturally. And that's why people invite us to weddings and things like that. Because we meet everyone. And Sarah and I have been at weddings where I suddenly take over the DJ booth and Sarah's on the dance floor teaching dances.
I'm
And
with the father of the bride. We're crying.
that's right.
It's amazing. And the tie-in to the book is the one of the many tie-ins because she talks about this a lot. Is the how important it is when you want to move up or when you want to do something in an interview that is going to get you the job. It's you need to think about the needs of the person that you're talking to. And they say this in the book, you need to understand what the needs are, ask questions, and then be able to deliver those things. And that's the same thing that we have to do as improvisers.
Yeah.
Somebody comes out, if Holly's in a scene and she goes, oh my God, the leech has got my arm. I am going to run out and then all of a sudden be an expert in leeches. And I'm going to help the situation. Do I know anything about leeches? Not yet.
Next book.
But it's
Next podcast.
anticipate next podcast. But it's about being able to see it's what yes and is. Yes and is the biggest rule that we have as improvisers. You see what is being given to you, you say yes, and then you add to it. You don't take away, you don't do something different, you add to it and you make it bigger and better. So if
Yeah.
you're interviewing with someone like they're talking about in this podcast, in this book, you have to, instead of saying already coming in with all of your stuff that you have, and what you deserve and what you think you need from them. The best interviewers and the best people for a leader to hire are people that are looking and asking you as a leader what you need and how can I be there for you.
As somebody who runs a company and has people who works for them, and I'm talking about myself here, everybody, in case you didn't know, by me pointing by it to myself, is that the people who go, what do you need? What can I do better? That are curious in what I want is such a flip, because there's such a responsibility on people managing and leading teams to make sure their teams are doing stuff that you feel like you have to come with all the goods and be telling people all the time what they need to do and not do. And to have someone just lean in and take that off your plate makes you go, first of all, this person cares, they're invested. They want to know the truth. I don't have to like sugarcoat because they can't handle it. They only want to hear the good stuff. And it makes me go, oh, good or bad, it doesn't really actually matter. They just want to get better. I'm invested. I'm already connected to that person. There's so many benefits of that. We've just built a relationship together that I think these kind of connections, I could imagine at a big company, many people feel like they're not supposed to do that or it's frowned upon, but I think it's the future really, because it's building back those relationships that maybe disappeared during the pandemic or have changed because the work environment has changed.
Yeah. And a Harvard business professor is saying that is what the research shows, that's what's succeeding.
Yeah.
That's what's making people grow up the chain. That's what's making great leaders. That's what's making people get hired for jobs. That's what's making people get higher salaries or whatever benefits that they need. It's being there for the other person.
Yeah. Oh, you're making me think of something else too that I think you could make a pitch for what improv could help you with. So let's say you're a person that's going, huh, this sounds interesting. I think my team would benefit, but I am not quite convinced yet. Sarah and Holly, what more could I get from? So one of the things I nerd out about improv is divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is just cool. And what it is it means that it allows your brain, it's the skill that allows your brain to go in a million places. You get a question like, why does Francine have a pin in her purse? Now, the person who wants to figure it out right away, no, control, will go to write notes or to have a pen with her so she can have it there when she needs it. But divergent thinking goes, she needs to prop open a window. She might need to stab a perpetrator in the neck with it to defend herself. It might be from a company that has a phone number on it that she desperately needs.
It's gonna say it might be the one that James Bond left behind and said, when you're in a pickle, use this pen.
Right. Wink, wink.
He's always worried about people getting in a pickle, that James Bond.
So divergent thinking makes you go, what are all the possibilities? And you spin out on the possibilities. And it's very important because novel new ideas live on the fringes. They don't live on the thing that we need to know right away. That's kind of been there, done that. So for instance, she said, if you aren't going to be able to get a salary raise, you can start thinking, what are all the other ways that my job could be better though? So if I can't ask for more money, come up with 10 things that would make your job better. And these are probably exercises that we could all do at work to start thinking in different ways. How could I even approach this client in a new way? How could I talk to my coworker in a new way? Divergent thinking is something that to an improviser comes quite natural, but it can be learned. I just went on a rant about divergent thinking. I'm sorry, I had to just get it out.
That's because you have a divergent thinking brain. And it's great, but you know what? We use it all the time too, Holly. When people, because what we do can go in so many different directions, we get people that are like, I've got a team of 4. They're all tech. They'll call themselves nerds. I would never say such a thing. They're all tech nerds that now have to start responding to customers. Or we've got a group of 400 people coming in from all over the globe that are here for a kickoff meeting, and we have to make sure that they're all on the same page. Or we just talked to someone and they were like, we've got a guest speaker coming. And the guest speaker is a CIA agent who is an expert in negotiations and also being like in disguise. Can you relate what you do to that? And we go, here's 10 ways we can.
Yes.
So I think if it comes up for us, it's got to come up for zillions of other people.
I agree. I agree. And we did a cybersecurity session a couple times now for a group. And this was really the situation on the table. We aren't thinking in new ways, and they call them actors, which I'm a little offended by. They call the actor the person who hacks. We're
Oh,
going to say they're the bad guys.
come hackers. There's a bad guy movie about that.
Call them actors, but they're actors. And so we're not thinking in new ways, but our actors are. The people who are trying to hack into systems are constantly coming up with new ways. And so we did a before and after the improv workshop test with the pen exercise, in fact. How many ways can you, why did Francine bring a pen? And they compared the first list to the second list, and you can guess what happened. So it, again, doesn't take long. It's a muscle that also you can work. And when you are in an improv mindset, divergent thinking is easy breezy.
Yeah. In the podcast, she used the words mindset at the end of like you just gotta shift your mindset. And what she was referring to was instead of like, how can I get what I want? Maybe that's not the best way. It was instead of like, how can I bully essentially my way into getting what I want versus how can I learn to communicate and connect more so that people will want to give me
Yeah.
so we can work at it as a team. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, you want a yes, but we play a game where we practice using yes, but and then using yes, and I was like, what I'm hearing is she's like, how can we make a yes, and
Yeah.
mindset?
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to comment on this and throw a question in there, we will be more than delighted to answer it if we can. And if we don't know how, we're improvisers, so we'll make something.